I specifically remember watching Penn State taking on a Sam Darnold-led USC team in the Rose Bowl in early January of 2017. I was on a plane and I remember thinking to myself, this may be the best and most complete college running back I've ever seen. His speed, his cuts, his jukes, his vision, and his strength was the perfect combination of the ultimate running back. This led him to be the second overall pick in the draft, and after a fantastic rookie season, which feels like decades ago now, but was only a few short years back, we were having real conversations if he was the best running back in the entire NFL. But as we all know, he got a bad case of the injury bug and also a bad case of a horrible offensive line. And with those two things, he has only been doubted and questioned ever since. But we got a blast from the past the other day with 164 yards rushing on 9.1 yards a carry. Not only does he look fully healthy and we're seeing all of the same traits that led him to be so highly touted coming out of college, but also the combination of the Giants at least putting effort into building an offensive line, and the play designs in the Giants' run game are now much more running back friendly than we've seen in years past. So in today's video, we're going to look at how Saquon looks like his old self again. And this isn't me predicting that this pace can be upheld game to game throughout an entire season, but it's a great sign that we can know how they were able to pull it off and know what to look for in future games to either understand why they're finding success on the ground or understand what they're not doing and why they're struggling in future weeks. I promise that sentence that seems completely nonsensical will start to make more sense as the video goes on, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. And now that we're in a league that as time goes on has only devalued the running back position, this is why Saquon at the number 2 overall pick was so heavily criticized. And although it's true that overall the offensive line is more important and a good O-line can make a running back by committee system work, that doesn't mean that a running back's vision, speed, strength, cuts, and contact balance doesn't matter. So when we look at a guy like Saquon and a handful of other guys in the league, we have to look at certain plays to see if he can do things that otherwise a lesser running back couldn't. And this leads us into a conversation about yards over expected. And yards over expected has really been the name of the game for Saquon's year so far, and why he drew early comparisons to Barry Sanders' career as a great, highly touted running back running behind a horrible offensive line. But as the offensive line has gotten better, and now that the running system is a little bit better, it's become a lot less feast or famine, and we get to see yards over expected show up in different ways. And it's on a play like this where we really get to see this, but we really have to see it from all angles for this to make sense. As we're going to get a pitch to the left side of the field, we're gonna pause it, and right around here we have 7 Titans players converging on him. So what his yards over expected is currently at the 24-yard line probably isn't much more than that. But it's the second level vision, his ability to just plant his left foot in the ground, make 2 Titans defenders miss, make his way up the field, and he falls forward for an additional 5 to 6 yards. So when this play doesn't look like all that much at face value, what we see Saquon do to get an extra 5 yards on this play, and in a game of inches, that means everything. That's the difference between a first down, them winning or losing the game when you look back at things in hindsight. This is what Saquon did for the team and proves that he is still that guy. And the offensive line is 5 individual players, but it's more so one unit. And so when one person doesn't do their job, it can really mess up an entire play. So when we have a simple dive play, there is a glaring weakness compared to everyone else blocking. And it happens to be as soon as Saquon's getting the ball, he has his lineman and a defensive lineman right in his face. But the rest of the offensive line has done a great job on this play, and there is a massive hole here that Saquon wants to get to as fast as possible. But this is where a really good running back like Saquon Barkley can right the wrong that someone on his team made. And how does he get right back to the line? Well, he makes a little jump cut, and this is what I kept thumbing through when I was watching this game over and over. This is what I was doing. This is just beautiful. The little jump cut to his left, right back to his right, knowing that he has to get back to his path. This is so swift, and I don't know if a lesser running back like Saquon could turn this into a 10-yard game where otherwise this might be stuffed in the backfield, or they might look to bounce it out, but he's able to make cut, boom, up the field. And another thing I've said repeatedly on this channel is if you're a running back, I really don't care about your 40 time. How many 40 yards run do you see a game? Maybe one every 2 games. Well, this is why I care so much more about your 10-yard split. So once you get the ball right here, boom, and you see a hole that's looking like this, it really doesn't matter what your 40 time is. What is your 10-yard split where, boom, you can take off and explode up the field and take advantage of the hole your offensive line gave you and really make the most out of it. And then you see the second level vision to make the cut up field. His own offensive lineman gets in the way, which is unfortunate, but has the strength to push his 350-pound behemoth offensive lineman all the way forward and falling ahead for more yards. So we don't care what your 40 time is. What's your 10-yard split? How fast can you get to your fastest speed? And with Saquon, it's just a few steps. And if you want to be a premier running back in this league, you have to be comfortable working in tight spaces. So when you have some counter action right here, be able to pick up extra yards, see the vision, and not get scared when things look like they're closing down. Just get as much as you can. It's not all feast or famine. So when you're going through the hole and this is what it looks like, be able to get small, get through the same colored jerseys, and pick up an extra few yards on the play. And all game long, it felt like every time Saquon touched the ball, he was able to get an extra 3-4 yards using his specific traits that help out this team. And he displayed this all game long, just having the vision when the hole isn't there, being able to bounce it up. And it's because his lateral cuts are so efficient and he can get to full speed in just a few steps. And now that this offensive line's improved, we really get to see this come out on a more game-to-game basis. I'm looking forward through this season. And when the game's on the line, this is a horrible play design, but just get the ball to your best player and hope for the best. This is the 2-point conversion that went on to win the Giants the game. And again, I really just don't understand this play design at all. It seems like everything you want to do with a shovel pass is to get it away from where you're thinking it's going to go, but they kind of just throw everyone right into where Saquon's going. But when you get the best player your ball, typically good things happen. And now that we understand the blast from the past and see some of the traits that lead into yards over expected that we more so saw from him at Penn State and in his rookie year, we see the improved scheme and how it leads to less feast or famine. That doesn't mean he still won't feast though, and he did have some explosive runs in this game, and the same things we've been talking about still apply. And we see on a play like this where he's going to get a stretch to the short side of the field. He gets the ball around the 5-yard line. And since the corner on the outside isn't able to cut linemen anymore, he has to get around him, which he does very quickly. But Saquon gets the top end speed so fast, he's able to use this space and get through the hole with no problem. And now Kevin Byard is coming down and he has to pick an angle. But not only can he get to top end speed super fast, but his top end speed is still at 4.4, making Kevin Byard completely miss on this angle. And he's off to the races, and this is some of the explosive plays that we saw at Penn State for all those years and in his rookie season that made things so exciting. But now that I'm looking at this play a little bit closer, that is Amani Hooker, not Kevin Byard, so sorry for the All-Pro, but nonetheless, he's in full stride, looking like he's all the way back with his 4.4 speed. And as weird as it sounds, sometimes you don't have to even read your blocks correctly to make the right play. And we see it on a play like this. Again, we're going to get some counter action to the right side of the field. And how this block is setting up, the tight end has done a great job sealing him to the outside. And this play is designed for Saquon to cut it up. But Saquon, out of his peripherals, he sees this linebacker that's filling the hole. So if he's going to cut it up, he's going to run right into him. So now he has to decide if he can make it to the outside with his speed, even though this defender puts him in a better spot to make a play on it. But Saquon is one of those guys with elite speed, and he can beat those angles and turn something yards over expected once again into something that he doesn't necessarily read his blocks correctly, but he knows what type of guy he is to get the most amount of yards on the play that he can. And the last thing we're going to talk about is his contributions in the passing game, because as good of a pure runner he is, he's also very effective out of the backfield and always is a great outlet for Daniel Jones to flip it out to him. Getting the ball to Saquon in open space is always a good thing. But one thing I definitely noticed that he's been working on is in his pass protection, just being able to chip defensive linemen, give your quarterback an extra second to throw the ball, knocking him on his butt on this play like this. I know a lot of defensive ends don't like this block, but it does help him out, gives Daniel Jones just the extra time to make this play possible. And he does have some of the most sure hands coming out of the backfield. And the Titans actually did a really good job limiting him to not have many explosive plays out of the passing game. But again, these are 6, 7, 8-yard conversions where it's just going to be as easy as this, where you always have to account for him coming out of the backfield. And this really does change the numbers. But something I want to talk about is how dangerous he can be in open space. Because just like in basketball, when you have the triple threat where you can either pass it, shoot it, or drive the ball, this is what Saquon's like trying to tackle in the open field. So when we have, again, Amani Hooker, round 2, because right now, Amani Hooker has to be incredibly nervous because Saquon has the ability to do one of 3 things: go around you, go through you, or hurdle and go over the top of you. So Saquon starts setting up his moves, say, let me take this dance, and Amani Hooker does a great job taking away 2 out of 3. He's in a really good, solid base. He doesn't dive at his feet, so Saquon doesn't hurdle him. And so once he sees that he's setting up any juke moves, but he's not biting on any of them, it's just time to get as many yards as possible. So what he's going to do is he's going to lower his shoulder, starting at the 34-yard line, and pick up an extra 4 yards on this play. So even though it doesn't seem like much, his triple threat ability makes the defense be a lot more timid coming up to tackling him because he's either going to miss, jump over you, or the best option you can do is stay as solid as you can, but he's still going to put his shoulder down and pick up an extra 4 yards. So what I'm not saying is Saquon is going to rush for over 160 yards every game. But it was a really pleasant sight to see that he is still a guy, and we have to look at him as one of the running backs in the league that you simply can't replace some of the things that he's able to do with 3 lesser guys. It was just such a great blast from the past, and I felt like I was back in 2018 watching a rookie Saquon, just in awe of some of the things he was able to do. So definitely not an overreaction, but it felt like we needed a spotlight his game and really appreciate the things he does for this team and know what to look for when we watch his games moving forward. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like this video if you like videos like these. Make sure to comment down below what you thought about Saquon's game and what do you think his season could look like moving forward. And as always, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy daily NFL content. Thank you guys all so much for watching. That's all I have for you today. But as always, I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.